Imagine finding an ordinary-looking 5-cent coin in your pocket, covered with dirt, scratches, and years of wear, and then discovering that one tiny detail could make it much more interesting to a collector. Today, we are taking a close look at the 1996 United States of America 5-cent coin, a Jefferson nickel with no mint mark. And although this particular coin may look dirty and heavily circulated, there is still a fascinating story behind it. Welcome back to the channel, where we explore unusual U.S. coins, hidden details, collecting history, and the possibility that coins many people ignore could deserve a second look. Before you spend that old nickel, take a few seconds to examine the date, mint mark, condition, and overall appearance, because sometimes the smallest details can completely change the story of a coin. The first thing to understand about this 1996 5-cent coin is what the missing mint mark actually means. On modern Jefferson Nickels, the mint mark helps identify where a coin was produced, and a coin without a mint mark can indicate production at the Philadelphia Mint during this period. That makes the absence of a mint mark an important identification feature, but it does not automatically make every 1996 Philadelphia nickel rare or extremely valuable. In fact, millions of ordinary 1996 Jefferson Nickels entered circulation, which means most examples found today are worth close to their face value unless they have something special going for them. However, collectors don't simply look at the date and stop there. They examine the coin for unusual varieties, mint errors, exceptional preservation, and other characteristics that can separate an ordinary example from a collectible one. Now take a close look at the condition of this particular coin. It is described as a dirty coin, and that immediately creates an important question. Can a dirty or worn nickel still be valuable? The answer is yes, but condition matters enormously. Dirt, discoloration, scratches, corrosion, and heavy circulation generally reduce a coin's collector appeal. A coin that has spent decades moving through pockets, cash registers, vending machines, and storage containers can develop a completely different appearance from an example that was carefully preserved from the day it was minted. But here's where the mystery begins. Sometimes what appears to be simple dirt can hide important details underneath. A dark surface might conceal lettering, a minting characteristic, or a possible error, so collectors often inspect the entire coin carefully before deciding that it is simply an ordinary circulated nickel. On the obverse, you'll find the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson facing left, along with the inscriptions associated with the United States 5-cent denomination. Jefferson has appeared on the nickel since 1938, making the coin one of the most recognizable pieces of American pocket change. On a 1996 example, collectors will want to examine the date closely and make sure the digits are genuine and undamaged. Look around the lettering, Jefferson's portrait, the rim, and the fields of the coin for anything unusual. A coin doesn't become valuable merely because it is old-looking or dirty. What matters is whether there is a legitimate characteristic that collectors actually recognize and value. This is why a simple magnifying glass can become one of the most useful tools in a coin hunter's collection. Turn the coin over, and the reverse reveals the famous Monticello design. The building represented here is Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's historic home, and the design has become one of the defining images of the Jefferson Nickel. The reverse includes the inscriptions 5 cents and United States of America, along with the familiar EPLURIBUS UNUM. On a circulated 1996 nickel, these details may show noticeable wear, especially around the highest points and lettering. But don't just look at whether the coin is shiny or dirty. Pay attention to the shape and spacing of the lettering, the building's details, the rim, and any strange marks that appear to be part of the minting process, rather than damage that happened after the coin left the mint. One of the biggest mistakes new collectors make is assuming that every unusual-looking mark is a valuable mint error. In reality, many marks on circulated coins are simply scratches, dents, stains, corrosion, or damage caused by machines and everyday use. A genuine mint error occurs during the manufacturing process, and determining whether a strange feature is an authentic error can require careful examination and sometimes professional attribution. On a 1996 Philadelphia Jefferson Nickel, collectors may therefore be interested in unusual double details, striking problems, planchet issues, off-center strikes, or other legitimate minting abnormalities. But remember, a random scratch across Jefferson's face is not automatically an error, and a dark patch on the reverse is not automatically a rare variety. The difference between damage and a genuine mint-made feature can be extremely important. Another factor worth discussing is the coin's grade. Even if two 1996 nickels were produced in the same year and at the same mint, their values could be dramatically different if one has been heavily circulated, while the other has been preserved in exceptional condition. A heavily worn, dirty example generally has very little premium over face value unless it contains a significant error or variety. Meanwhile, exceptionally preserved coins can attract greater collector interest, particularly when they retain strong original surfaces and sharp details. This is why serious collectors pay attention to grading. Professional grading services evaluate coins according to established standards, and high-grade examples can sometimes become much more desirable than ordinary circulated pieces. But there is another fascinating part of the story: the possibility of discovering a coin that looks completely ordinary at first glance. Coin collecting is full of examples where a tiny detail changed everything. That's why experienced collectors don't judge a coin only by its appearance. They check the date, mint mark, strike, lettering, surfaces, and overall condition. If you discover a 1996 nickel with no mint mark, don't immediately assume it is rare simply because there is no letter beneath the date. Instead, identify it correctly as a Philadelphia issue, and then search for characteristics that actually distinguish it from the millions of normal examples. This approach protects you from unrealistic claims while still allowing you to enjoy the excitement of the hunt. And here's an important warning for anyone who finds a dirty old nickel: don't rush to clean it. Many beginners believe that polishing or scrubbing a coin will make it more attractive and therefore more valuable. Unfortunately, cleaning can permanently damage a coin's original surface and may actually reduce its collector value. Abrasive materials can leave microscopic scratches that are obvious under magnification, while chemicals can alter the coin's natural appearance. If you believe your 1996 nickel has something special about it, the safest approach is generally to leave the surface alone and have the coin examined properly. A coin that looks ugly to the average person may still have collector interest, and once the original surface has been damaged by cleaning, that condition cannot easily be reversed. So, could this dirty 1996 Philadelphia 5-cent coin make you rich? For an ordinary circulated example, the realistic answer is that it is generally not a $1,000,000 coin and should not be presented as one without extraordinary evidence. Its face value is 5 cents, and most circulated examples have only modest collector interest. However, that doesn't make the coin worthless as a piece of American history. Its real excitement comes from what you might discover when you inspect it carefully. If your particular nickel has a verified mint error, unusual variety, or exceptional grade, then its collectible value could be different. The key is evidence. Don't rely on sensational online claims or random price estimates. Compare your coin with reputable references, study the characteristics, and when necessary seek an experienced numismatist or professional grading service. There is also something special about the history represented by an ordinary 1996 nickel. This coin was produced during a period when Jefferson Nickels were still an everyday part of American commerce. It could have been carried in someone's pocket, used to buy a small item, dropped into a vending machine, or saved in a jar for years. Today, a dirty example can look almost meaningless, but it has traveled through time from the 1990s into the present. That is one of the reasons coin collecting is so fascinating. A coin doesn't have to be incredibly rare to tell a story. Every circulated coin has a journey, and sometimes that journey is exactly what makes collecting so enjoyable. So before you throw a 1996 5-cent coin into a jar or spend it without looking, give it a careful inspection. Check the date, confirm the missing mint mark, study Jefferson's portrait, examine the reverse, inspect the lettering and rim, and look for genuine mint-made abnormalities rather than ordinary damage. Remember that condition, rarity, authenticity, and collector demand all play a role in determining value.